Okay, so if you're a plant parent, you totally know the ritual, right? You grab that trusty moisture meter, you stick it in the soil, and you let the little needle tell you exactly what to do. But what if that tool, your plant's supposed best friend, is actually the villain in disguise? Well, we're going to get into it.
No, really, I want you to stop and seriously think about this. That little $10 gadget you count on, the one that gives you that simple yes or no on watering, could it actually be the reason you're seeing yellow leaves, sad, stunted growth, and, you guessed it, the dreaded root rot? Because I'm here to tell you the evidence is pretty darn overwhelming.
I mean, this is it. This is that heartbreaking moment for so many plant lovers. You did everything right, at least according to the meter. And then you unpot your plant only to find the roots are just sitting in a swamp. It's a total tragedy, and yeah, that moisture meter, it's our prime suspect.
All right, let's peel back the layers on what I'm calling the green lie. We're going to look at that super common, super frustrating situation this little gadget gets you into. The one that sets the stage for a total plant catastrophe.
So, picture this, okay? You've got this gorgeous fiddly fig, you check it with the meter, and the needle points all the way over to dry. So what do? You give it a nice, thorough watering, feeling like the best plant parent in the world. But then, a week later, the leaves start yellowing. Then they start dropping, and when you finally work up the courage to pull it from the pot, you see the horror, total root rot. The meter screamed, "Water me," when the poor thing was already drowning.
Okay, so here's the big reveal, the absolute core of the problem. To get why these meters are so bad, you first have to understand that the name moisture meter is, well, it's basically a lie. It's just not measuring what you think it's measuring. And let's be super clear about this. This thing does not measure moisture. It's not in there counting water molecules, it's not sensing humidity, none of that. So, what in the world is it actually doing? Here's the secret. It's not a moisture sensor. It's just a really simple electrical device. You see those two metal probes? They're usually different metals, like copper and aluminum. When you stick them into wet soil, they basically create a tiny, super crude battery. That's all it is. The little needle you're looking at, it's just measuring the tiny electrical current that's flowing between those two probes. And this, right here, is the fatal flaw. See, the theory we all buy into is simple, right? More water equals a higher rating. Easy. But here's the thing. The reality is that pure water is actually a terrible conductor of electricity. So what the meter is really measuring is the stuff dissolved in the water, salts, minerals, fertilizer. And that, my friends, is where this whole thing just completely falls apart. So because of this fundamental flaw, you end up with two, let's call them dangerous failure modes. These are the two main ways your meter is going to actively trick you and lead you to accidentally hurt your plants.
All right, let's talk about failure number 1, the false dry. And this is probably the most common one for anyone who's into houseplants these days. This is when your meter is screaming at you that the soil is bone dry, but in reality, it's dangerously wet.
So you know how we all love those modern, chunky aeroid mixes, right? For our monsteras, our philodendrons, they need that airy soil to be happy. So we fill our pots with orchid bark, perlite, pumice, cocoa chips, charcoal, all that good stuff. And while that is absolutely fantastic for the plant's roots, it creates a total nightmare and obstacle course, really, for a moisture meter.
And here is exactly why that's a problem. Air doesn't conduct electricity. It's an insulator. So if one of those metal probes just happens to land in an air pocket, and in a chunky mix there are tons of them, the circuit is broken. Poof! No electricity flows. The soil all around that air pocket could be completely waterlogged, but the meter can't see it. It just reads dry. So what do? You see dry, you add more water, and that's how you begin the slow, sad process of root rot. Okay, so that's the false dry. But then you have the complete opposite problem, which is just as deadly. This is failure number 2, the false wet. And this is when the meter is confidently telling you the soil is perfectly moist, tricking you into underwatering your plant until it basically dies of thirst. So how does this happen? Well, it's all about salt buildup. Think about it. Every time you fertilize, or even if you just have hard tap water, minerals and salts build up in the soil over time. Now look at this. The actual amount of water in the pot can be dangerously low, but if the salt level is high, that tiny bit of water becomes super conductive. The meter picks up on that strong electrical current and swings that needle all the way over to wet. It's telling you don't water, when really your plant is absolutely desperate for a drink. Okay, so hopefully we can all agree. It's time to toss that meter in the trash. So, what do we use instead?
Well, the good news is you already own a set of biological sensors that are way more advanced and accurate than any cheap gadget you can buy. Let's talk about your new and vastly superior toolkit.
First up, let's talk about the original digital probe. And by that, I mean your own index finger. Seriously, it's the most advanced soil sensor you can get. The key is, don't just tap the surface. You've got to go deep, like up to your second knuckle. And you're not just feeling for dampness, you're feeling for two things. Moisture, yes, but also temperature.
And that temperature part, that is the secret weapon. It's simple science, really. Evaporative cooling. Damp soil is always going to feel cooler than dry soil. Your finger is incredibly sensitive and can easily pick up on that subtle temperature difference. So even if the soil feels kind of dryish, if it's cool to the touch, you know there's still moisture down there. A simple metal probe? Nope, it can't do that.
All right, method number 2. I call this one the gravimetric method, which is just a fancier way of saying lift the pot. Honestly, this might be the most foolproof method of all. Water is heavy, right? So the next time you give a plant a really good soak, pick it up, feel that weight. That's your baseline, your fully watered calibration. From then on, just pick it up every few days. You will be amazed at how obvious the difference is when it gets light.
So why is this so much better than a probe? Because you're getting a holistic reading of the entire root ball, not just one random little spot. It can't be tricked by an air pocket over here or a salt deposit over there. You're measuring the whole system. When the whole pot feels light, you know for sure it's time to water. It's just simple, effective physics. Can't argue with that. And our final method for anyone who doesn't want to get dirt under their fingernails is the chopstick dipstick. And yet, it works exactly like the oil dipstick in your car. Just grab a plain, raw, wooden chopstick, you know, the kind you get with takeout, or even a bamboo skewer. Shove it all the way down to the bottom of the pot, leave it there for about a minute, and then pull it out. See, what is what we call hygroscopic? It just means it sucks up water. So when you pull that chopstick out, it's going to tell you a story. If it comes out dark and damp with soil stuck to it, you know the bottom of the pot is still wet. If it comes out perfectly clean and dry, you are good to water. It gives you this perfect visual map of the moisture from the very top to the very bottom. You know, the real problem with these meters isn't just what they do to our plants. It's what they do to us as gardeners. It's time to ditch the faulty tech and start trusting our own senses again. And this, I think, is the biggest danger of all. The moisture meter is a psychological crutch. It literally de-skills you as a plant parent. It teaches you to stop paying attention. You stop really looking at the leaves. You stop feeling the weight of the pot. You stop touching the soil. You're just outsourcing your own intuition to this cheap, unreliable gadget. And because of that, you never actually learn the language of your plants. Because at the end of the day, that's what this is all about. Taking care of a living thing isn't a simple yes or no question you can get from a machine. It's about observation, it's about connection. So, my advice? Throw that meter away. Seriously, start having a real conversation with your plants. Trust me, they'll be so much healthier for it, and you'll become a much, much better gardener in the process.